Hello, my name is Chris Johnson. What I want to do today is get directly and simply to where our nation stands on alternative and renewable resources for energy production, as opposed to fossil fuel dependency. Here's what we know. We have prime candidates for energy production. Listed, they are solar, wind, geothermal, hydroelectric and tidal force, biomass, hydrogen, and nuclear. With each category of renewable and alternative energy production, there are benefits and costs. I want to go through each category, state the greatest benefits and greatest costs, and then propose a solution. One of my resources for this research was the Opposing Viewpoints series on energy alternatives. The reason I chose this source is due to its comprehensiveness. It offers expert opinions and data from both sides of the argument. I asked myself, how can data support two sides of an argument? As I read further, I answered my question. The nature of this argument is speculative. Different tests and different variables used by different scientists produce different results. By knowing the facts and opinions of advocate and adversary, I hope to further my purpose, which is to persuade a nation of people that it is imperative to advance our research and development of renewable and alternative energies. Through my research, I have developed some hypotheses of my own on more than one of the possible alternatives. Beginning with solar energy. It is our most abundant and least utilized natural renewable resource. And one day, our sun sends more free heat energy our direction than all the nations of the world produce and use in a year. To me, this is staggering information. How is it that we as an intelligent species cannot harness the limitless energy supply? The truth is we can. Solar hot water heaters have been used in the United States since the 1930s. The first photovoltaic solar panels, or PV cells, were developed in the late 1950s and were used to provide electrical power for satellites orbiting the Earth. The process photovoltaics use is the direct conversion of light into electricity at the atomic level. Some materials exhibit a property known as photoelectric effect that causes them to absorb photons of light and release electrons. When these free electrons are captured, an electric current results that can be used as electricity. The main drawbacks to this energy source are of some concern at this time. Solar energy cannot be captured during the night, and it is ineffective during cloudy or rainy weather conditions. Current improvements have made PV cells more efficient from 7% to 15% efficiency since the 1970s. Large-scale PV power plants require huge sections of land for construction. However, they only produce 10% of the energy as a smaller fossil fuel power plant. These numbers are unacceptable. PV power plants' environmental footprint is too detrimental when compared to their output. There is also a problem with the smaller-scale home units. Though they are better for the environment as they are not cost-effective for the consumer. The purchase and installation prices are much too high, with an at best 20% augment to typical power demands of a household. PV cells become a 10 or 20-year investment before any money savings are made to the homeowner. Someone may say to themselves that this is cause to dismiss solar energy as a viable alternative energy source, but I have to disagree with them. What this information says is that the technology is proven over 60 years of use. When first results were not adequate for large-scale use, research and development stagnated. It is the opinions of experts that pressing new research on this technology is critical, that it will produce necessary efficiency within 20 years and could replace 40% of our energy needs from fossil fuels. The next renewable on the list is wind. Wind is a byproduct of solar energy created by heating and cooling of the Earth's surface. Wind power is easy to address. It is effective, it provides jobs, and it produces no pollutants. The usage of wind power has grown 30% a year since 2009. The only opposition to wind energy is that large-scale wind farms mar natural vistas, and endanger flying birds. There is a compromise to this problem. The amount of land that can be utilized for wind farms is limited but must be maximized for full potential. State forestry departments will have to coordinate with their Army Corps of Engineers to designate lands that would be least impacted by construction, where little damage is done to natural ecosystems, and that the area is proofed for bird traffic. If this were done across the United States, it would create thousands of jobs in construction and thousands more in maintenance, lowering our dependency on foreign oil. The next contender for energy production is geothermal. What geothermal is using the heat from within the earth to create steam. Steam drives turbines to create electricity. Like wind, geothermal energy produces no pollutants. The argument against geothermal is its cost. I think this argument is absurd and bears no merit, because every cost associated with drilling for geothermal energy is also associated with drilling for oil. For every geothermal plant built, a gross amount of crude oil and coal consumption is eliminated, which cancels the cost of construction. In an uncredited report from the National Geothermal Collaborative, I found a plethora of analytical data. For instance, electricity produced from geothermal resources in the United States prevents the emission of 22 million tons of carbon dioxide, 200,000 tons of sulfur dioxide, 80,000 tons of nitrogen oxides, and 110,000 tons of particulate matter every year compared to the conventional coal-fired plants. The average geothermal power plant requires a total of 1,400 square feet, approximately the size of a football field, to produce a gigawatt of power over 30 years. Compare that to the enormous amount of land needed for coal and nuclear plants, all the open pit and other mining required to fuel them, and the storage and transportation requirements for that fuel. Almost 3,000 megawatts of geothermal electric power capacity is available in the United States, equal to burning 60 million barrels of oil each year. Geothermal energy should be developed with haste and accuracy. These drilling projects could lead from hundreds to thousands of jobs with several decades of work to be done. Hydroelectric and tidal force energy production have been observed. They are pollution-free and they utilize energy from moving water. The hydroelectric dams have two major flaws. The upstream side of the dam is flooded, drastically changing the landscape and ecosystems around them, and dam failure is always a major concern. Leading technology has provided a boost to the hydroelectric industry. Micro dams can be affixed to drainage systems, irrigation systems, and smaller tributary streams to provide a proportional amount of energy needs on home, farm, and community levels. These microsystems should be campaigned and subsidized. Tidal force generators are fascinating technologically speaking. There are several different types of tidal generators. One type resembles a windmill generator, though it is built beneath the surface of the water offshore. When the tide comes in, the generator faces into the tide and spins, producing electricity. When the tide goes out, the generator head is forced to turn 180 degrees to again face the flow of the tide. They are safe to the environment and are effective on small scale. The cost and logistics of building and maintaining large-scale offshore power plants are not feasible at this time. Our next contestant is biomass energy. Biomass energy, for those who do not know, is simply put, it is the energy stored in organic compounds that can be released. Some examples are burning a log for heat or refining the sugar from corn into ethanol. Biomass is a fantastic option that deserves as much attention that can be given. A census should be taken to be certain that the nation does not sacrifice food and trade supply, but fully develops biomass energy strategically. The question about biomass energy is, how much can we get out of it? According to Mark Jenner's report in Biocycle magazine, in 2009, biomass accounted for half of renewable energy use. That's a notable amount of energy, around 4% of national energy use. With current technology and resources, there is obvious potential for growth in this market. Experts estimate this growth to be 9 or 10% of our national energy demands. Biomass research has many more benefits than energy alone. Biomass can replace petroleum bases in many of our daily use products. The list of these products is extensive, but to name a few: rubber, adhesives, soaps, disinfectants, pharmaceuticals, plastics, and asphalt. Next up is hydrogen. Hydrogen, like natural gas, has competing uses as a chemical feedstock in industrial processes and as thermal energy fuel. Hydrogen is used chemically as a reducing agent in the mineral industry, as a hydrogenation agent in the petroleum industry, and as a bonding agent in the chemical industry. As fuel, hydrogen is already used for high-temperature welding and for space exploration. It could be used as a coolant in superconductor technology and as a fuel in transportation applications such as motor vehicles with internal combustion engines, marine vessels, aviation jet engines, and space travel. Finally on the agenda are nuclear energy and its dangers. Without getting into nuclear physics and several chapters of explanation on radiochemistry, I can say with what I know that nuclear energy can be quite safe. Technology and chemistry exist to safely contain large and small amounts of radioactive material in close proximity to people with little risk. Nuclear energy could be used everywhere energy is required. The problem is with people and their level of responsibility. Nuclear energy can never be safe for public use. However, with proper regulation and security, nuclear energy could be used in military and corporate fleets and even bolster our research in astral avionics. In spite of any technological or chemical advances, the danger of nuclear proliferation is always a high-level threat. Nuclear energy should be utilized with all safety measures possible, and radioactive materials should be governed with all prejudice. The U.S. can be 100% crude and coal-free, leaving these resources for better research and experimentation. From my most honest assessment of all the available technologies, it is clear, regardless of politician and lobbyist rhetoric, that with exact development and ecological planning, the United States could produce all energy needs from renewable energy sources within 60 years. Leading through example and cooperation is the only way to improve the world we live in. If you want other nations and people to guardian your faiths, you must do so yourself first. Thank you for listening.